That's just live. So, hello and welcome to the NWC Show number 37. It's the first time I've ever been live, so it's pretty new, pretty cool. And if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yes, so my name is Mekz. I am from WrestleManiacUK, making wrestling content, daily content, trying to keep up over Instagram and on YouTube. And yeah, just getting to meet everyone inside this UK IWC. So yeah.
Man, it's weird how many people there is. Like, before I done my YouTube channel, I didn't realise how many fans of wrestling were in the UK, and then like wrestlers and stuff like that as well. There's just unlimited amount of talent, which is great to see.
It's true. Like, I feel for a long time we've always kind of just been relying on the USA opinions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not knowing that we've got our own scene over here, sort of thing. And it's great to just see it building up with new faces and stuff every day.
100%, man. I think it's fun as well, like, just to kind of get a new perspective as well, because like sometimes the American perspective can obviously be skewed for the American stuff, and the rest of the world's like, this is shit, why are we watching this?
That's exactly it. It's true.
Yeah. So the first kind of question we always kick these off is, what got you into wrestling? What was that moment you saw it and you were like, this is my jam?
Well, my dad used to kind of, I'll say, casual / passively watch wrestling.
Yeah.
Him and my mom, and they were very much WCW watchers. And I just knew Hulk Hogan was a good guy, the colors, the everything, and all of that kind of stuff. And I think the first time I literally sat up and paid attention to this was when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO. A very, iconic way to jump into wrestling, I know. But it was knowing that this good guy was here mashing up the good guy. So are you a good guy still? You're joining the bad guys and all of that stuff. And literally from then I was hooked. I then discovered, when the Monday Night Wars were in full swing, and then I kind of fell off WCW a bit because I just loved The Rock. Like, absolutely loved The Rock. Love Stone Cold. Triple H, I've only come to appreciate in my older age now. Like, I hated Triple H then, but I guess he was doing a brilliant job then if I hated him. And that was it really. From the Monday Night Wars, God, I must have been anywhere between 6, 7, 8 years old. And yeah, it's just been, I have the usual lapse, like I think most fans had around, 2012, 2013, around that time when it just wasn't great. I say that like it's great now, but And then I came back around 2014 and stuff, and just being hooked ever since.
Man, I'm the timeline the exact same, round about that 2011, 2012 stage when it was just anybody was getting the world championship and stuff, and I was like, I can't. This is
well, anyone was getting like the world heavyweight championship, but the WWE championship was Cena, Orton, Triple H, Orton, Cena, Orton. Like, give it a rest.
But people that haven't grew up during that kind of Monday Night War Attitude Era don't understand how insane wrestling was back then. Like, you were in school, like giving your friends stunners, telling your teachers they suck it and stuff like that. People were getting banned for doing like the middle finger.
Yeah. I got kicked out of school. I was older. I was this was my second year of secondary school, so I must have been about 13 or so. And I told your teacher to suck it, and then that was it. I was expelled. I was kicked out, and my parents were just on one. They just couldn't believe like I had got in trouble because of wrestling, basically. So they had to find me a new school and everything. So yeah.
Man, I think it was just I never got kicked out of school, but it was just like we were took into the hall. Everybody was told, like, if you do any of this wrestling stuff, there's no middle ground. You're getting kicked out. And in Scotland, it's a little bit more like, if you get kicked out of a school, you can't go to another school. You have to go.
So what's
to
your
like
options?
You have to go. It's weird. It's kind of like it's not like a prison. It sounds bad, but it's like you need to go to like this special school.
I think they call it like a unit something here. In UK, in England, I think that's what it's called, unit school or something like that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You have to go there for like 2 years, and then you have to like pass like certain things, behavioural checks and stuff like that, and then you can go back to a normal school. But nobody that I know that ever went there ever came back to a normal school. So it was like really strict, so you didn't want to go there. Like you were like, no, I need to stay in this one.
Yeah. No, to be honest, I think if I was in a regular school, so my school was run, it wasn't like a, what's the word, like a convent school. It was a religious school. It was a Catholic school, but it was literally run by priests and nuns and stuff. So obviously me doing suck it was to the complete different extreme. They just kicked me out. But like I said, if I think I was in a regular, state school or something, I probably would have got suspended at most, and that's it. But yeah.
Yeah, so where my kind of primary school was by a church called St Mungo's in Glasgow, and it's like the priests and stuff would come over, and I always remember them came over and like telling us how this is like against like the Bible stuff and that. Like I was just like, what are you talking about? It's on TV. These guys are doing it. Like, are they bad? I don't know what's happening. But and you're a kid, you're getting told like, oh, don't do what these guys are doing that are on TV, and you're like, but I like those guys. I'm going to go do what the bad guys are going. But obviously, you touched on Hulk Hogan. That was like a point I always remembered being like, why is everybody still like cheering him? Why is he still like a good guy, but he's a bad guy?
Yeah.
Like Hogan's never really a bad guy, and he's just kind of.
He went from a good guy to like a cool guy sort of thing.
Aye, pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah.
So how long have you kind of been a fan of it? Obviously, probably about the same time as me, back in like the late 90s. We feel
late 90s,
like
yeah, definitely.
Feel pretty old saying that now.
it literally feels like a very, very long time. Like sometimes when I'm talking to people, they're like, "Oh, do you remember when this happened?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "God, I'm old." But yeah, it's just been one of these things. I've never really been someone that's into TV. I'm not into like regular shows. I'm not into like films or anything like that. People talk to me about Marvel, DC, this. I don't know. I don't have a clue, mate. I know Batman, Spider-Man, and that, but that's about it. And then, yeah, football. I'm into my football, but that's about it. Football and wrestling, like, there's only real things you'll see me dedicated tuning into TV for. So, yeah, it's just been one of those things for me.
I'm pretty much the same, man. I have like it's like MMA, UFC kind of stuff, and then wrestling. I'm in Scotland. There's only 2 football teams that really do anything, so there's no point in watching it.
Yeah, I hear that.
So I just that's my stuff, and like you said, movies and stuff like that. I might catch like a family night with kids to watch a movie, but I'm sitting there bored at my brain. Like
that's exactly it.
You're like, no, how's this comfortable to sit and watch? Like going to the cinema is one of my worst things. Like I hate.
Oh my god, so it's me. I hate when my missus drags me to the cinema. I'm just like, what? I have to sit down and watch this for how long? She's like, oh, but you sit down and watch wrestling. I'm like, yeah, but that's better than this. Like,
especially when it's like because you're in the cinema, you need to wear like clothes and stuff. Like I like to be comfy. You need to wear like jeans and stuff. Not in that way. Like I'm going to just take all my stuff off and sit in the cinema. But you're sitting there, and it's like the popcorn's never that good. It's always expensive. The toilets are crowded, and you're like, oh, this is shit.
You actually sound like me. Like this is exactly my argument every single time. Like, I don't want to dress up. I don't want to have to wear jeans. I don't want to spend for popcorn or anything like that. Oh my god!
It's like 16 quid. You got like a popcorn and a juice, and you're like,
it's far too expensive.
This isn't. I hope they don't come back. I hope we just can focus on online stuff because that's a lot easier than.
My local cinema, I guess, over this pandemic period, me and my missus drove past it the other day, and it looks like it's closed down. And I was literally like fist pumping, like, okay, cool, like we're gonna go there again.
we just focus on the being comfy, being in the house. I hate like as well when it's like, oh, I've got this cool new movie coming out. Like you said, you go out, you get dressed up, you go along. They always want to pick up like the meal combo deal that's like £26 because you get a cool cup weight, and you're like, fuck, this is. You're looking at your bank account, you've got enough for it, but you're like, it's £26.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It is a lot of money to watch something that you're not even really remotely interested in.
Right. And it's never a good movie. Like, never something that you go watching and be like, that's interesting. You go watching, you're like, that's a waste of fucking 2 hours of my life. This is shit.
Oh my god, this is so me.
So, going back to wrestling, obviously we're kind of bullshitting on movies now, but going back to wrestling, what's something that you dislike about today's product? Now try and keep it a short list because I have a long list.
Where do I start? God, I mean, okay, with WWE, one thing I think I just don't like is it's a minor thing to be honest, but we've got NXT was brought to the forefront when AEW came into inception, and ever since then, you know, Survivor Series, I can't remember what year it was, but they triumphed over Raw and SmackDown, put them over as the dominant brand, I guess. And since then, NXT, they haven't treated it like that. It's like they don't want them to compete. They want them to be seen as lesser. You know, the fact we have NXT champions that go on to be jobbers on the main roster really bothers me.
Yeah.
And I say some of them is jobbers, some of them have, you know, left the company altogether. Just without any real run. There's no real continuation. Every week I see Shayna Baszler, and Shayna Baszler's on TV like twice a week now on Raw and SmackDown. And it literally just breaks my heart that this woman is actually so good. And she's just not the submission machine she was in NXT. Like, Bianca Belair beat her on her way to becoming SmackDown champion. Bianca Belair beat her in like a 4-minute match. And I'm thinking, no story was told that Bianca Belair in 3 or 4 tries on NXT couldn't beat Shayna Baszler. And she's literally just beating her on SmackDown after 4 minutes and no one's spoken about it. Yeah, just that little bit of, it's like they make NXT like this is the step up now into the big leagues on the main roster, but there's no continuity at all. And it really bothers me because NXT is one of the best wrestling products out there today. But yeah.
Man, I 100% agree with you. Like, I love Shayna Baszler in NXT. I was like, she's a great wrestler. She had that kind of Ronda Rousey vibe, but it was a wee bit better because for some reason Rousey just didn't stick with me when she was on the main roster. Probably because it's just like that main roster cheesiness.
I think it was it's definitely that, and I think it's just the fanfare that was around her sort of thing. Like you knew she was always going to be pushed and looked after. Where Shayna Baszler was a bit more gritty and came from nothing, so to speak. Like,
and then you see her, like you say, Mondays and Fridays, and she's with Nia Jax. Just like, you're like, what's happened? What? How did we get here? Or the one that got me last week, man, I literally was ready to just stop the channel, was when Damien Priest, one of my favourite wrestlers, is standing there throwing tamales at a guitar case. And I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
But my kids just left. They don't watch wrestling. They're like, this is terrible. They're like 4 and 5. They're not interested in wrestling at all. They're like, this is unbearable to watch. And I'm like, I want to watch it 3-hour show to review this. And I'm like, last week's one was a straw. It was the end of it. I went off on a rant. If you've seen the video, it's just me shouting about Raw. I was like, this is pish. This can't go on anymore. Then it ruined the rest of the week for wrestling for me, and I didn't even watch SmackDown because I was away on Saturday. I was like, I can't. SmackDown's probably the best one for the main WWE stuff. Yeah, 100%, but it's like, 100%. Is it good because everything else is so shit? Like, that's what's hurting AEW, I think, as well. It's like, is AEW actually good, or is it because everything else is so shit that we can see this is good? Like, it hurts, man. It really hurts when I'm watching wrestling at the minute. 3 hours of Raw, and you're like, oh.
I think it's because Raw is at the beginning of the week as well.
Yeah.
So like you said, it can literally kill your mood for the rest of the week. You're now all of a sudden watching everything a bit passively. You don't really care what's going to happen sort of thing, or because they're probably going to disappoint me anyway. Yeah. Like, that 3 hours at the beginning of the week should be the tone setter for everything. Everyone else should be chasing what's happened on Monday. Yeah, everyone else, like you say, after Monday can put out something that's half decent and we'll get excited about, but is it really good because we've been let down after 3 hours on Monday? Like, it's crazy.
Those 3 hours on Monday should be like the most important part of wrestling. Like, they have so much time. Like, you could tell some stories. I would definitely cut it because it is far too long, but you could tell a story, do something good instead of it's like, cool, let's just have like the Miz TV segment, then you've got the supernatural stuff, and it's like, just stop it. And everybody always goes, it's a PG show for kids, and it's like, SmackDown's been PG since like when it first came in, so you can't use that because SmackDown's always been pretty more like a wee bit edgy, but using that PG stuff, it's just shit. It's at a low point. Like, I would go back to 2012. It's that low at the minute. Like, I'd take back those horrible years when we used to be like, this is shit. They're not using these people right. Like, can you bring that back? Yeah. This is better than what they're doing just now.
No, it's 100% true, man. It's a very difficult watch, and for I think I love Drew McIntyre. I know you love Drew McIntyre. We saw him in about 2 or 3 segments, I think, on this past Monday. And as much as I don't mind seeing him at all, I think, was it this past week he had a match with Braun Strowman?
Yeah, I think that was
the main event, wasn't it? When Braun beat him.
Yeah, it was the main event because they done like the team up at the start, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah. So I really enjoyed that match. But I'm just thinking, there is other people on this roster. Why are we seeing the same person 3 or 4 times during the night? Unless they're telling like a through story to the end of the show, then fair enough. But like sometimes it's just like, there's so much filler, but there's guys sitting in the back that you could be using and telling stories with, and you're not. You're just putting out the same guy in sometimes awkward situations as well, where they're not good at talking. You're just forcing them in front of a microphone. Like, it's just like, oh, who writes this? Like, and who okays it, furthermore, to get on TV?
I would, as much as I like Drew McIntyre, I wouldn't say he's my favourite wrestler just because he's Scottish. I need to support him because he's Scottish, but sometimes you're like, this guy's just out there too. Like, he's not as over as like a Cena or a Austin Rock when they can go out 3-4 times a night. Like, let him get over. Like, same as the worst thing is like Bobby Lashley. I used to like him back when he was the ECW champion in 2006.
Okay.
And then I liked his Impact run when him and Drew done like the little thing there as well. Then he came to WWE. I know he's a champion. I just don't feel, I feel it's like, it just doesn't feel like he's a champion. Does that make sense?
I agree.
Like,
I 100% agree. Right now, he's carrying the belt. And I think that's as far as a champion as we can call him. He's carrying the belt. The true champion is Drew. Yeah, but he hasn't got the belt. I think Drew is fantastic. I think he's amazing. I think he's had the year of his life. And unfortunately, there's been no one to cheer for him. So we can't really gauge how over or not he is. And because no one's been cheering for him and he's continuously been out there, I feel just slightly people are beginning to turn on him, just in the sense of we're getting a bit bored of Drew. But we haven't. It's been very unfortunate for him because he's had a really good run this past 18 months or so. From winning the Royal Rumble, going on to beat Lesnar. But unfortunately, there's just been that there's no way to measure his success right now because the crowd aren't there.
it's obviously like it should be Drew, and everybody just feels kind of like as if like, oh, because there's nobody there to react, we don't know how to write it, so we're just going to like kind of like let it float. Like you said, like Bobby Lashley, he could literally be seen as like he's a legitimate like fighter. He could be like the best champion, but it just kind of feels like just give this guy the belt until some more people come in, then we'll give it back to him. And it's like, oh, this is kind of, what's going to happen. You can see it, and I would love to be a fly in the wall in those meetings when they're booking the show, and it's like, no, what we're going to do, we're going to get Nia Jax to slip on a puddle. It'll go over, and you're like, just please stop it.
And I can imagine them all being like deadly serious in the room. Like, okay, Nia's going to slip in that puddle. Oh yeah, that's a brilliant idea. And then she's going to try and get up and she's going to slip again. Yeah, Reginald's going to help her. Oh, don't forget Reginald. Yeah, Reginald has to help her out the puddle. It's like, are you guys serious? This is a wrestling show. Like, what are we here putting in these little comedy skits? It's like Nia Jax has never been a klutz or a clumsy person. Yet in the last 3 or 4 weeks, she can't stand on her 2 feet anymore. Every time she gets into the ring, she falls. Every time she sees a puddle, she falls. Every time someone comes up to her, she gets slapped. Like, all of a sudden, she's just, developed this clumsy trait. Yeah,
it's like you could. The worst thing is, I don't even think she's not the best wrestler, but you could book her to be like so much better. Like it's just because of how terrible they've booked her, and they keep giving her the Women Tag Team Championship. They should just let them go. Like, nobody cares about them at all. Like, and they've not gave us a reason to care. It's just, let's just put these 2 women together and hopefully it works.
I think they actually need Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler back into the main women's singles division.
Yep.
Leave these tag team championships for, these other guys that are still kind of learning their craft. And I mean, some would argue Nia Jax needs to learn her craft. I actually really like Nia Jax as a character. Like, I think she's got a bit of comedic chops. I think I enjoy her on screen. Obviously, her wrestling matches aren't the best, but with her stature and everything, I don't really think they need to be the best. But I say, get Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler definitely back into the main women's singles division, and let them build from there. Shayna Baszler's a machine, which they're just not treating like anything right now.
Like we said at the start, man, as well. Like when you see somebody in NXT, and you're like, this is so good. Like, they're over in NXT, everybody loves them, and then it's like, oh, they're getting took up. You're like, well, that's it, done. There's no, send the t-shirts back. We don't need to be fans of them. They're going to be like opening match for the rest of their life. Like, even Rhea Ripley, I'm a big mark for Rhea Ripley, and it's just like, I'm no enjoying her title run. It's like, how can you mess that up? She was so over, and you still like shit the bed with it. I don't know how they can make it that bad.
I think they messed up Rhea Ripley. Well, when she lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania, last year, that's when they messed her up, because losing is fine, I guess, if there's like a follow through, which there was none. And she's already come out already and said she's just floundering. She kind of thought she'd be called up earlier than she was. Had a great match with Io Shirai and Charlotte for the NXT championships at In Your House, but she's done a whole lot of nothing in the last 12 months. And then, came second in the Rumble, still got a title shot at WrestleMania, won the title, and now she's doing tag matches with the women's tag champions. It's like, the funniest part is I spent the best part of 3 months, the first 3 months of this year, praising WWE, NXT, more NXT, for their women's division. And really and truly, they've got a lot of names in the division, but it's not booked well. It's really not.
Yeah, I feel like last year, it's like you're praising it, and it's just like, is it because the rest of the booking for all the other women divisions are pretty poor, and that's the only one that's got some sort of consistency to it? Because it's not like the matches are good, they're putting on good stuff, but the main roster, once again, I know we're bullying WWE here, but the main roster is just like, the women's division in it is a joke. Like, Bianca Belair, I loved her in NXT. I loved her getting the belt. It meant something. That felt really good. Then it's just like a dull note right after it. It's just like, what's happening now with her? She's going to drop it to Sasha probably again. I saw Asuka, whatever she's called. She's just hid the belt because there's nobody else there. Like, you're the only one that can sort of do wrestling then just now. So you keep it till we bring somebody up. But
100%.
Man, it's the only person that's really enjoyable is Roman Reigns in WWE at the minute. He's
loving it, and
like, he's literally, you can put him out 3-4 times a night because it's going to be cool, especially at Heyman and stuff like that. But it's one of my gripes at the minute with WWE.
I'm so right now, like, I'm seeing, well, not right now, when he came back, SummerSlam last year, and first 1-2 months of his current iteration of his character, and everyone's like, Roman's so cool, but I was so protective of him because when the Shield were reigning and stuff, just before they broke up, is when I got back into wrestling. So, and I said from day one, I love this guy. I love Roman Reigns. Dean Ambrose looked like the brains of the group. Seth Rollins was super athletic. I loved everything the Shield were doing. People were like, when he got taken out of the Shield and was being forced down our necks because he was against Lesnar and all of that kind of stuff. I hate Reigns. I said, you're gonna regret this. This guy is brilliant. And I don't know how I was watching this, probably by some illegal stream or something like that. But I saw a lot of FCW stuff as I got back into wrestling. So I saw how Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins came up, because those two were always going at each other for the FCW World Championship. A lot of the tag team stuff. Roman Reigns then was paired with Summer Rae, I think it was. I don't know what it was. I took to all the Shield boys from then, and I hated the way that Roman was getting slandered for like the last 5 years. Like, it's literally burnt a hole through my heart. And now everyone can see, like, I felt like everyone can see now what I was seeing with this guy all along. And it's brilliant to see the turnaround. And I don't know how much longer they will be able to keep him as this heel character once crowds come back.
Man, I was the exact same. The minute I'm coming back into it around about the same time, just before the kind of Shield broke up, I was like, this guy's going to be huge. Like, that was my guy for when I came back, because he's got the look. He's good in the ring. Like, he's no, you wouldn't be like he's the 5-star classic, but The Rock or Austin wasn't putting on 5-star classic matches, but he's great. And like you, when everybody was hating him, I was kind of like, thought he was okay. Like, I wasn't. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying him. Am I watching the wrong thing, or what am I doing?
That's how I felt. Yeah.
But I've enjoyed him the whole time, and then now everybody's enjoying him. I'm like, see, told you, that's what you get for no liking.
Yeah, exactly. Now you get to be proven wrong. No, yeah, like you said, he is probably one of the shining stars in wrestling. Full stop. Right now. Just everything he does, the cadence, the mannerisms, just the looks he gives, and all of that kind. I killed myself laughing I think like 2 weeks ago now, when Cesaro came down to the ring on SmackDown and went to grab the mic and speak to him, and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman just walked off, like totally disrespecting. Like, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Like, I was laughing for like 5 minutes. I had to pause the broadcast and just laugh, and then
man, that's like one of my highlights of the night. Always finishes it good on a Friday, but then you get kicked in the stones on a Monday, so it's kind of it evens it up. Like, so talking about, obviously we've been going on about WWE. What's your thoughts on AEW? For me personally, they've obviously still got a long way to go before they're going to be competing with the Disney of wrestling, which is WWE. They've got good matches and stuff, but some stuff that they do makes no sense at all. Like, just completely, you're watching it and you're like, so he's a bad guy again? No, he's a good guy. Why is he in a stable? What's going on? Why is a 6-man tag happening now? I don't know. But I don't know if you feel the same, but that's my kind of... I get slated for saying that all the time.
I think AEW is really good. They've had a very good first 18 months, 2 years. I think it's time will tell if they stand the test of time, which I think they should be able to do. In terms of what we've seen so far, so that one of their major roadblocks seems to be the actual network, TNT. I don't know if you had seen this or heard this, that when they debuted Sting in November, or was it November, December, they got a lot of stick because they just brought him out. And as wrestling fans, we love that shit. That's what we live for, like the complete surprise, But TNT gave them a lot of stick of, no, don't do that. Announce when people are coming, or at least tell people, tune in today that this is going to happen or someone's going to come in. Hence why, the Christian thing was all played up for a long time. Big Show was announced on social media, or Paul White. And with their partnership right now with Impact, a lot of stuff that's happening on Impact isn't being shown on AEW, I'm guessing as well, because of network related stuff. We don't want to be promoting something else. So going forward, that actually may be their biggest hindrance. But for me, AEW is a really good product. I would actually think they could possibly give at least Raw, a run for their money if they were to be on a Monday night. But for me, the biggest thing I don't like is the rankings. That rankings thing makes next to zero sense. They don't follow it. They pick and choose when they want to use it. There's been women and guys that have been, number one contender for long times, and other people come in and have championship matches above them. They have their dark show, they have Dark Elevation. People are getting wins against local enhancement talent, people that aren't signed to the company, and climbing the rankings. Like, how is that fair? Like, go on Dynamite, the main show, and beat some credible names and then climb the rankings. But apparently you can just beat anyone that shows up in the ring, and you could become number one contender. So just a bit of inconsistent stuff, but they're a young company. I think they will learn, but I think for just the wrestlers and just for us as fans, it's just good to have something else somewhere else that we can watch and not have to just rely on, the WWE.
Definitely, man. I think AEW's doing good stuff. Like I said, I'm a big Sting mark, so the minute he came out as a surprise, I was like jumping up and down. Like, he's one of my favourite wrestlers of all time, but it's just, there's some stuff like story-wise, there's so much going on. You're like, you need to watch like their YouTube channel and stuff like that as well. And like you say, like, you've got Elevation, like all this kind of stuff. You're like, I've not got enough time. Like, just come on, just on the Wednesday, put it on, let me enjoy it. Don't ask me to go look at Facebook and stuff like that. I know, obviously, that's terrible for me to say since I'm on YouTube. I do YouTube, but I'm like, just let me just enjoy what I want to do on YouTube. I don't need to go research stuff and look up what they done in Japan 10 years ago and stuff like that. But what's your thoughts on Omega getting the Impact and TNA titles?
So again, I think, I don't know, because they haven't especially on AEW, they haven't really told us that story. Like, this was my biggest gripe with it. Rich Swann, the former champion, never turned up on AEW to at least, sneak attack him or, war of words or anything like that. And I always said, how are they going to have Omega beat Rich Swann and then turn up to AEW with another belt? And it hasn't been explained to the AEW audience. Now, we are super fans. We are marks. We know what's going on outside of AEW. But there are some people that will just tune into AEW every week. And it's like, okay, we know Omega. He's got this belt. Oh, now he's appeared with the Impact World Championship. How did he get that? There's no story being told. And, they're very much saying this partnership is helping Impact's exposure. I'm not sure how much it helps Impact's exposure that your World Championship is on another TV show. But the match was really fun. It was a really good match. I don't know how they're going to get that title off Omega now, because that's going to be very interesting. I kind of fantasy booked a little story that they rehire Samoa Joe and send Samoa Joe over there to get the title back. I think that would be pretty cool. But I just wish that, same way Impact are really putting effort in to tell that story of how Omega became champion, that AEW would kind of reciprocate that and do the same.
No, I totally get it, man. Like, I think it would have made it such a big event if, like, Rich Swann was turning up in AEW. Like, it would have been like Impact versus AEW, and it could have been like this cool story. I think Tony Khan was saying because he needs to give money to Impact, but then Impact isn't paying for, like, their time on AEW, so he's kind of he's like, why am I paying you if you're not paying me? And I'm like, why is anybody paying anybody? Why would you not just work together? But I think that was the only thing. The match was great. Like, I love Impact. I think it's such a cool. I let a lot slide with Impact. Like, there's a lot that's terrible. Like, there was teleportation and stuff like that. You just let that slide.
Yeah,
good wrestling. But I think it's just Impact. I still don't have a clue how Impact, TNA, GCW, whatever you want to call it, is still in business. It makes no sense why it should still be here. Like, there is not, but they're there. They're making money for some reason. But let's hope they stay there.
I mean, again, I'm happy that there's just another televised place that people can go to and work and make a living and entertain us. I think for me, I've never really watched Impact. I tune in when you see some of our big WWE stars or indie stars turn up there. I watch for a little bit because I'm a bit intrigued of what they're going to do, but then I always fall off. Like, I've never really watched Impact. And again, I've tried to really tune in while this Forbidden Door stuff is happening back and forth. But I think right now it's the fact there's no crowd there that's not capturing me or making me stick around. But there are definitely, like, individual matches that I've picked out. Even that last pay-per-view, the whole pay-per-view, in fact, Rebellion, was super cool in terms of the matches that were on that. So there's a lot of upside about them. Maybe it's just one of these things once they have fans coming back in, money flowing, the actual presentation and the packaging of it can just be kind of brought up a notch to just capture more fans.
Again, for me, it's the X division on that TNA Impact. They need to change their name back to TNA. Like, people that are like us that have known it for TNA, to try to remember it. It's like, just change it back to TNA. We know it. But the X division is great there. I would love to see the X division title go between Impact and AEW. Like, I think that would be a cool story. The world title thing, I'm not a big fan of it being on AEW because it's like, that's your world title. Like, it should be like this. And who's going to take off Omega at the minute? He's like,
that's exactly it.
How, like you say, Samoa Joe? Like, are they going to get him in and get him to go? It's like, is he going to come back? Is he going to wrestle? What's going to happen? Like, I'm excited to see how it plays out, but at the minute, I'm like, not a big fan of it.
And that's another thing. Even leading up to that match, the pay-per-view match, I was thinking, why is none of the rosters seem concerned that the biggest title on both brands are basically up for sale at the pay-per-view? People should be running to Omega like, are you sure you're going to win this match? And the same happening to Rich Swann. Even now that Rich Swann has lost it, people should be like, you're an idiot. You went and lost our title and now we have to go over there to win it back, or whatever the case is. Like, there just doesn't seem to be any kind of urgency that two world titles are put on the line. Obviously one man has them both now, and now there's no kind of real fallout. I know they're doing like a number one contenders qualifying stuff over on Impact right now to see who's going to face Omega. But it's just all a bit lax, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like seeing the guys go forward and back on different shows. Gallows and Anderson basically have just left Impact and work for AEW now. But yeah, I think just more of that at the very least. More of the guys, trading talent and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's the trading talent and kind of stuff like that is really cool. Like you say there as well, like nobody was concerned. Like you could, like you're not even worried that like your whole title could just be gone, and then Impact done this thing, and it was like to get that qualifier stage, it was like, oh, there's no rematch clause in the contract, and I was like, where did you pull that from? You just like just make stuff up on the fly, just like, oh, no rematch clause. That he signed the contract, just didn't read it. What?
Yeah,
where are you getting that from?
I don't know. We know wrestling doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
trying to suspend your belief is hard at times, but yeah, I just feel like they could have probably told it a bit better. But like I said, I think this TNT are probably hindering this story being told as these guys probably thought it should have been told. That TNT are probably hindering it a bit.
100%, man. I think as well, like you say, TNT is probably like, we don't want these Impact guys on our show, and that's why we don't see it. But then it's like, get them on the YouTube show. Like they're no put them on the YouTube stuff. Like use Dark Elevation, because then people are going to tune into it, stuff like that. But like you say, we're fans that are watching wrestling. We can complain about it. The normal fan is just going to be like, who the hell's this? Like
exactly. Yeah. It's the same thing I said with Moxley a couple of months ago when he had his US IWGP match with Kenta. And he all of a sudden, literally, he had lost the AEW World Championship, and all of a sudden he appears on Dynamite with this red belt. And I'm like, have you guys actually told your wider TV audience what this belt is and where he just got it from? Because as far as they know, he's just lost the only title he had. And now he just walked on with the IWGP US Championship, and no one said a damn thing.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there, man. Especially when, like, some people from New Japan will turn up and attack, like Moxley, or can't remember what it was. So somebody turned up. It might have been Kenta.
It's Kenta. Yeah, it was Kenta.
My partner was like, "Who's this?"
Yeah, exactly.
Like literally, there was nothing, and just the commentator like, "Oh, it's Kenta," and she was like, "Who's Kenta? What's happening here?" And she's not watched wrestling since then. So, I was like, try to get her into it, and then you just ruin it for me.
That's it.
No, everybody's a super fan. That's something that WWE does right. They know that it is casual fans will tune in to watch it, and they try and dumb it down, which obviously might be shit for us. But the wrestling's good. The stories are simple to follow. Like in AEW, sometimes you're like you says, why's he got this belt? Like, who's this guy attacking him? Like, I don't know who any of these people are. Or even the Good Brothers, they never really addressed that why they've came for Impact Wrestling. It's just like these two guys that were in WWE are new here, but they don't work here. So don't think you're going to see them here. They work somewhere else, but they will be here.
But they'll turn up every week. Yeah, it's really, it's either TNT or it's AEW, just assuming that everyone watches wrestling. Everyone watches wrestling worldwide, and everyone knows what everything is. And like you said, I think that's one thing WWE are really good at. Someone will walk in, like I remember, like AJ Styles debuted, and they're like, "This guy is a former IWGP champion. He's had great matches all over the world." The next week on Raw or SmackDown, they will put together a whole 5-minute vignette, buying the TV rights and the copyrights from all of these companies, and put together a vignette showing what this guy has accomplished worldwide. But AEW is literally like, it's Kenta. And we know who Kenta is, but does the whole world know who Kenta is? Like, and I don't even think it's fair on him. It's not fair on Kenta either that he doesn't have that introduction to a new audience. So I think it has to be TNT, surely. Yeah, it needs to be. I think that's as well with like the deathmatch stuff and that as well. It must be somebody that's like, oh, you can't do this, because like I've got DVDs from like Mexican death matches which are just like disgustingly bloody. Yeah. My partner's watched them. She's like, this is horrible, turn it off. And then she's seen that and she was like, is that it? Like, is that anticlimax?
Is that it? And I was like, hey, aye, it was good. Just try to sell it, try to sell wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of looks like the old one that happened when they didn't get the right explosions, but it was such a anticlimax, like you said, man. It was a really soul destroying moment. But AEW's still learning, so you need to let stuff slide. You can't be like they need to be WWE level already. Obviously, they've got the money. And the other thing is, sometimes it does feel like Tony Khan's just picking up it's like Pokemon cards. I want to collect like Sting, Christian. If I had the money, I'd be doing the exact same thing. Like I'd be like, I want to get like, let's bring back like Ric Flair. You know what I mean? Like just getting all these people to pay them.
Yeah, he's obviously a super wrestling fan, and he's got a lot of money, and it's like he's literally playing like one of these games, universe mode or something like that, just to fulfill what he wants his fantasy to be, sort of thing. Like, yeah, it's crazy, but like you said, they're trying. We got to kind of let them slide, but 2 years come September, October, they'll be in business for now. The excuses of they're a new company is going to start coming to an end. So, they're going to definitely have to start getting things right. But, in terms of an interesting product, I think they're beating Raw, that's for sure. So,
I think anybody could beat Raw at this minute. You know what I mean? Like, I think just put anything up. There's like a blank screen, nothing, just fuzz, like from back in the 90s, that fuzzy stuff that used to come up on the TV. Put that on, like more views than what we're getting on there. But like you says, AEW's still new. The excuses are starting to kind of get like, at the start, I was like, this is a great show. Then it was getting a little bit more thin. At the minute, I'm like, they've been putting on great weekly shows for about 3 weeks now. But before that, it was kind of like a wee bit, wee bit ropey.
I think their issue is that because they only have like 4 pay-per-views a year, they will always get to that spot in between pay-per-views where it's a bit like there's nothing really major happening here. There's nothing, like you're saying, it's a bit ropey because they've just finished one pay-per-view, told that story for 3 weeks. They're still about 6 weeks or 8 weeks out from the next pay-per-view, so it's a bit what's going on here before they start developing the stories for the next pay-per-view. So yeah, that's spot on, to be fair. But I think they should have maybe at least 6 pay-per-views a year, at least every 2 months. Because when you have them periods in TV, it will become easier for viewers to tune out a bit and lose interest.
This is the thing that I've been saying as well. We like after WrestleMania, WWE literally just jump off a building. It was been shit ever since WrestleMania. Should they take a break? Like, should they take like 2 months off, 3 months off or something to make it like a season? I know wrestling's always there. Things need to change because you can't continue with WWE at the minute. Like I'm dreading watching Raw because I get up at 3 a.m. to like go to the gym and stuff like that, and I put it on and I watch it and I make my review and record it. And it's the most boringest workout that I do. Like I hate watching it when I'm working out because I'm like, this is so shit. And when you're trying to do like a hard workout or hard exercise and you're watching something that's really boring, you're like, fuck, this is
it's draining.
This is, I don't know what's hurting me more, the weights or the show, but I'm like, is it better? Like, you're saying like AEW, if they had like a 6 month or 8 month run with 6 pay-per-views and then they took the 3 months off and came back, I know obviously for wrestling fans it would be like, oh, what we're missing, but it could give like a new...
No, I don't even mean that AEW should take the time off. I just think they should have a couple more pay-per-views in, so we're not having such a lull period. So like if they had a pay-per-view January, 2 months later in March, 2 months later, right now there is like no pay-per-view between, I think, November all the way to February. So that's about 3 months or so, and it's just difficult. WWE on the other hand probably have too many pay-per-views, but I liked how if you remember back to like maybe I think 2017, 2018, where they were doing like a Raw pay-per-view and a SmackDown pay-per-view. And then so it worked out that every 2 months Raw was on pay-per-view, every 2 months SmackDown was, but then that was obviously interrupted by the Big Four. But yeah, I think in terms of the seasonality thing, that definitely has to happen. I think after WrestleMania, maybe they take about a month off because I know they wouldn't take anything longer than that off. And they've got enough network shows to fill. Like you can still put stuff out like network shows or even like 24s of guys that won at WrestleMania, like how they felt and stuff. There doesn't have to actually be any physical action in 1 month after WrestleMania. And then maybe they use that 1 month to try as hard as they can to at least write some long-term stories that can go from that point to the following WrestleMania. Like, and they just have those all planned out. And obviously if they get interrupted by injury or pregnancy or something, then fair enough. But, if they should take a month off, write just stories, give us 24 content, give us documentaries and all that kind of stuff, and then hit the road again in May. Do that till the next year, March, or whatever the case is. Because these wrestlers need a break as well. Like, honestly, it's
100%. I think wrestlers and fans need a break as well, because it is like, I used to love back in 2002, 3, that kind of time, when you would have, like you say, SmackDown and Raw have their individual pay-per-views, and then they come together to face each other at the big four. So you would have like SummerSlam, you would have like Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, and different, like 15 men from Raw, 15 men from SmackDown. It was always good because you never really got to see it. Then as a kid, you'd fantasy book like, oh, if Taker could go against like this guy on Raw, and it would be cool. It still had that kind of like WWE, WCW kind of feeling. But they've just, it's like, can they go back to that? Like, is there just people just too, and then sometimes it feels like they just sit on Twitter and just see what people say, and then just go, oh, we better watch what we're doing because this guy doesn't like it, or like just be wrestling again, be ballsy, do what you have to do.
Yeah, to be honest, if they got ideas from Twitter, it'll probably be a bit better than what we get on TV. But I think definitely, like, one of the, we spoke about problems with the products, right? Today, I think one of the biggest problems is that they do, I think, beginning of October in the past few years, they've been doing their draft. Shouldn't that draft firstly happen straight after WrestleMania?
Yeah,
like maybe the champions stay where they are, and everyone else moves around. Why you do the draft like the beginning of October, and then in November you're doing Survivor Series, brand supremacy and stuff? Hold on, why do I have loyalty to somewhere I've just lived for 1 month? Now you want me to be repping it to the death and wearing my Raw t-shirt, and it's like, put the draft somewhere it makes sense. Or like we're saying, you take the 1 month off after WrestleMania, then draft. All the champions can stay the same, but then draft, and then like, it just, the calendar doesn't make sense. We're overthinking it. They make this up as they go along. Like, I'll give up.
Man, sometimes it does just feel like they walk into a room and they go, right, let's order some pizzas and we'll try and write some stuff, because who knows what's going to happen. Like you said,
the show starts in 2 hours.
Yeah, like 10 minutes before. Okay, anybody got a plan? Because I don't.
Yeah.
But like you say, like, why is it in October? Draft should be right after WrestleMania. Even if the champions did move, like, it would give it some suspense. Like,
even that,
we need to unite the champions, or just have one world champion instead of having this, and change the belts. Literally, they're horrible looking. Just anyway, that's me moaning again. I'm starting to shout about WWE, which I'm trying to be positive for this Raw. Try to be happy with it.
That's what you can do, man.
Coming into the end of the kind of podcast here, got 2 questions I sent you, and one that I always keep aside that I never send anybody, but I love asking it. So we'll go through the first 2. Is, who's your favourite wrestler of all time?
Gosh, of all time.
You can pick a couple if you need to, because I struggle to just get one.
I think of all time, if I'm completely honest with myself, it just has to be The Rock. The guy, and I know, in later years, being a bit more savvy and stuff, I know this guy is not the greatest in-ring competitor, but like, just someone that put a mic in his hand and that's it. I've turned out everything else that's happening in the world, and I'm just going to listen to this guy because he can literally just captivate you like that. He's just sports entertainment completely embodied. Like, I've just never seen someone that, again, we go back to our childhood, and in the playground, people were doing people's eyebrows and can you smell and all of that kind of stuff. Like, there's only a very few amount of wrestlers that you could pick up their traits and do stuff like that. We mentioned we do the suck it. People were doing stunners. People might do a cutthroat or something like that, or rest in peace with their eyes flicking back. And there's only a few guys that have that kind of, that thing that you can follow in and do it with your friends and all that kind of stuff. And for me, The Rock was just the absolute greatest. Like, he could just, I remember Rock versus Hogan, like 5 minutes before the match even started at WrestleMania. I'm getting tingles now thinking about it. The crowd are going ballistic. Nothing has happened. These two haven't even put a hand on each other yet. Just massive, massive icons. Man, the Rock is my guy. Who's your guy?
I would need to go for Sting, or Bret Hart. Those two are
Okay,
like
fair enough.
really got me into it. But then if I go in the rabbit hole, Austin has to be there just because I'm bald.
Yeah.
But my last name's Kane. So when I was younger, when you're carrying on playing wrestling as kids, which is don't try this at home, but you tried it at home, I always had to go Kane. Like nobody would allow me to go anybody else. Like your name's Kane, you need to go Kane. I'm like, it doesn't even make sense. Like I'm the shortest person here. How am I choke slamming you? But no, I would probably say Sting. He has to be my favourite. But that Hogan Volk match is. I remember the first time I saw it, like you said, chills, goosebumps. It was just, you bought into it. I love going back and watching it. I try and go back and watch it every few months because you just learn so much from it. It's like, I'm probably going to go watch it after this, to be honest with you, because you've never been talking about it. But what's your favourite event of all time? This can be independent, whatever. Just an event that you've saw and be like, this is my one. Everybody picks the same one, so I want to see if you do the same.
You mean just like a pay-per-view or an actual like card up and down?
Just like a pay-per-view, just like a. So everybody always picks WrestleMania 17 as their favourite of all time. What would yours be? Something like that. Like what would it?
Again, if I'm thinking recent history, and I always come back to, because this is what got me fully back into wrestling. I remember I just come back from uni, and I've got access to TV and watching all of it again. And I was watching the product, but I was just here and there. Like I said, I was watching the Shield and I liked them, but I wasn't really in again until WrestleMania 31. WrestleMania 31 is probably one of my favorite WrestleManias. The ladder match, even to start it, rest in peace, Brody Lee and Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, all those usual kind of guys in there. The massive RKO we saw from Randy Orton to Seth Rollins. At that point, we think Seth Rollins is done for the night. Then we get the cash-in of the century. We are not seeing a better Money in the Bank cash-in than that, ever. Like, I put money on it. It's done. So, yeah, for me, I thought like I said, I'm a big Roman guy. I thought Roman is here to beat Brock Lesnar. I knew the crowd didn't like him, but I thought, knowing Vince, they're going to do it anyway. And then Seth Rollins comes tearing down that ramp, cashes in. Yeah, for me, that is 17 would have been my trademark kind of answer. Royal Rumbles in general, who doesn't love a Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that 31 is iconic for me just because it really kind of just got me back into wrestling. And I think it was a really good WrestleMania, probably one of the best ones we've got in recent years as well. So, yeah.
I agree with that one, man. I loved WrestleMania 31. My kind of pay-per-view that I love is just because it remembers me when I was younger. I went and got a VHS from this like dodgy place in Glasgow, which is like you get like the dodgy stuff. So it was a VHS. It was King of the Ring 99. And I got 2 WCW ones, but King of the Ring 99 had Rock versus Taker, Austin versus Shane and Vince McMahon in a ladder match thing that was for the control of the company, which was so fun. And Billy Gunn winning the King of the Ring. Spoilers if nobody's seen it. It's like 23 years old, so you should have seen it by now. But that is just my perfect pay-per-view, just because I remember sitting down as a kid with that VHS and just watching it. Like, I know every single match, what happens in it, when it happens, because I watched it so much and if you remember VHS, you need to try and rewind it all the way back. It starts to stick, it breaks and all that kind of stuff. So that's my kind of favourite pay-per-view. It's not the best pay-per-view by any means, but it means so much to me. And the final question that we always ask is, this is the one that always gets people, if you could replace anybody or add yourself to any match in history, what would it be? For me, I'd replace Owen Hart against Bret Hart, SummerSlam 94, that blue steel cage, because that's my favourite match of all time. But only if I was as good as Owen Hart, because I'd ruin it if that was just me, like the new in it. But if I was good as him, I'd replace him. What would your one be?
I don't know about myself if we're getting in the ring, but I think one thing that WWE royally made a mess of was making. Now, let me remember. Batista win the 2014 Royal Rumble when that should have been Roman Reigns. And then making Roman Reigns win 2015 when that should have been Daniel Bryan. Like, and I think that has absolutely contributed to the 5 years of struggle trying to get Roman Reigns back on course correction, because you then gave him the Rumble that, you know, the fans wanted to see Bryan win, and we know how fans feel about Daniel Bryan already. Like, you don't mess with Daniel Bryan's booking. So yeah, like I think that was one thing they really, really messed up. If I'm to put myself into a match, and it's gonna sound stupid because of this match was just crazy, but that bump that Mick Foley took, to be honest, either one, the one he took from Undertaker off the top of the cell, or the one he took when Triple H flipped him off the top of the cell and he went through the cell.
Yeah.
I would, because just the iconic nature of them both, I would maybe take those bumps just to see, just to see. Curiosity kills the cat, well, kills me in this case, but yeah.
I remember getting the WWF magazine when I was younger for the Mick Foley, Triple H, Cactus Jack, Triple H, kind of going through the cell, getting that magazine, and they used to put the 3 little pictures of the match in it, and I was just going through this No Way Out 2002 magazine just to watch it, because it can you get pay-per-view at that time. It was up to my mum, and she was like, "No, it's too bloody. Can't get that." And she used to make it up. It's always just, "No, you're not getting it." And I'm like, "I'm not done. I've cleaned the dishes and stuff." No. So I got the magazine, was just kind of looking through it, and I just remember when I actually first seen the match in full, just being like, "This is like full circle." I was like, I think I was 16 when I first seen it. A few years later, and I was like, "Oh, this is as good as what I thought it was going to be." But obviously, as a kid in my brain, it was just like this insane. Like, people were dying, there was flames. That's what I was like. But like, when I seen it, I was like, "This is a really good match. I'm glad I watched it now and I can understand it instead of from when I was a child expecting somebody to like get decapitated or something." But man, thanks for being on the show. It's been really cool. First time going live, so you're the first kind of live person, which is cool.
Yeah, man. No, it's been a good one. Thank you for having me.
And weirdly, we're pretty much just the same person, just in different parts of the country, which is weird. But
it's frightening how close our opinions are.
So I've got your links for Twitter, Instagram, the website, YouTube. Everything's down like below in the description. That's what it's called. That's how we record these. We don't go live because I forget everything that I'm trying to say. Man, thanks for being on. What I'll do is I'll end this here. It's already up and stuff like that, and hopefully we can do another one of these in a couple of months. Hopefully WWE's better. Something's more interesting.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully.
No problem. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too, man. Appreciate it.